Okay, well. Democrats will never leer. Okay, so we have a few things to go through today. Okay, we have King Charles visiting, and Democrats essentially showing us that they've been lying all along because they've spent the last year telling us we don't like kings. Right, no kings. Remember all those protests? We're going to look at that very quickly. And then we're going to look at the further fallout of the Jimmy Kimmel joke. They call it a joke. Okay, they call joking about a woman becoming a widow a joke. And this is someone who has had two, or before the joke was made, had already had two confirmed assassination attempts on his life. And then, sadly for Jimmy Kimmel, a third followed right after he made that joke. Look, you can only claim that you're not responsible for the problems that are going on with violence in politics for so long while you're doing the same thing. You're literally lighting the fire and blaming the fire on the victim. Okay, the arsonists are blaming the fire on the victim. So we're going to dive into that. So let's take a quick look at the update coming from Capitol Hill. Okay, here are the so-called, the defenders of democracy. Okay, no kings protest. An elected president is speaking, and here they are freaking out and acting out like kindergartners. And then when a literal king is speaking, oh my goodness, oh, your majesty, oh, you're so awesome. I mean, these guys are just jokes, okay? So here they are in Congress. I'm going to just minimize this. So here they are in Congress, okay? So King Charles is making his speech, and here they are, okay, the Democrats. Look at them clapping like seals.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Majesty Charles III.
Oh, look at them. Look at them. All right, so, still going. Look at them. Look at them go. Okay, now I'm going to play a video for you because I saw this and I thought it was hilarious, okay? I thought it was hilarious. So here's Donald Trump, okay? Here's Wesley Hunt. He posts, Democrats standing at the State of the Union for President Trump versus Democrats standing during King Charles III's speech. Right, so let's have a listen to this.
Then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
And all the Democrats were sitting. They were all sitting down.
Of the Declaration of Independence. And for all of that time,
Hakeem Jeffrey stood. I thought he says he hates kings. Look at them. Nancy Pelosi.
If you agree with this statement.
Okay, so that's the update coming from the actors and, well, essentially, I don't want to call anyone names. I don't want to have to add something else to ask the Lord to forgive me for. So it's too early in the day for me to do that. So the Democrats have essentially it's mask off, guys. It's mask off. They really don't care about kings. They actually like kings. They like the idea of unrestricted power, and that's why they want your guns. That's why they want your guns. The only thing keeping them from running roughshod over the American people is the fact that the Second Amendment exists. Okay, and they hate the fact that the First Amendment exists, but they can't take away your First Amendment because you guys have your Second Amendment to defend the First Amendment. I mean, the founding fathers were geniuses. Okay, so it is confirmed President Trump is the king of America, since the Democrats have confirmed that they actually like kings. Okay, since they go out of their way to clap like seals when a king shows up, they actually do like kings. Okay, all right. So that was just just our comedic opener for the day. Now let's have a follow-up story from the story we covered yesterday about Melania Trump slamming Jimmy Kimmel as a coward and demanding that ABC fire him after he joked about President Trump in a White House Correspondents' Dinner skit, stating, "Mrs. Trump, you have a glow of an expectant widow." So we're going to just play this, and then we will follow up on that story.
First Lady Melania Trump apparently calling on ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel. This appears to be in response to a segment that Kimmel aired days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. In that segment, Kimmel said the First Lady had the glow of a, quote, expectant widow. And now we have this response. The First Lady writing on X the following, quote, "Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family is not comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community?" End quote. For the second time now in the past 2 weeks, the First Lady taking a public stand. A few weeks back, she made a statement asserting that the rumors about Jeffrey Epstein and connections to her were baseless. And now we have this response to Jimmy Kimmel just in.
All right. So I've seen a lot of people, influencers online, saying, well, the First Lady is using her power to shut down free speech. Okay. They said that, and they all forgot when Roseanne Barr was fired from her own show because the Obamas didn't like a joke she told. She was fired from a comedy show, not a political commentary show like Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert have. Roseanne Barr was running her own comedy show, made a joke about someone in Congress, and you know what? The Obamas put pressure on the network to fire Roseanne Barr. So when, these people who want to, feign outrage should just spare me. We saw you guys do it with Obama. We saw you guys do it with Biden. You guys don't fool us anymore. So now, in response to that message, okay, so this is the real update, okay? Not only did Jimmy Kimmel not apologize for the disgusting joke he made about President Trump dying, he doubled down. This guy doubled down, read the joke again, and took more shots at Trump and Melania last night. All right, so here's the show.
And the First Lady puts out a statement demanding you be fired from your job. We've all been there, right? You've been there, right, Guillermo?
Yeah, sure.
What a day. As you know, they had to cancel the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington on Saturday night after a man with multiple guns and knives crashed the party and may have shot a Secret Service officer. Fortunately, the guy was wearing a bulletproof vest and is okay. They're not sure exactly what happened, but they got the guy. He was charged today. No one was hurt, thank goodness. A lot of people were shaken up on a night that is supposed to be lighthearted. The White House Correspondents' Dinner, if you don't know, it used to be an annual event before Trump showed up. But every year they'd have a comedian roast the room. The president, the vice president, members of the press, everybody got roasted. I did it once. I hosted it. It was a lot of fun. But this year they said no comedian. We're bringing in a mentalist instead. So on Thursday, 3 days before the event, in order to keep that cherished tradition alive, I did my own version of the Correspondents' Dinner on my show. I put on a tuxedo. We pretended we had an audience of luminaries. We used old footage of the Trumps, of Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Kid Rock, Vanilla Ice, all the members of his cabinet. And we made it seem like they were all together in a room. We had a little roast. Again, this was Thursday, and there was no big reaction to it until this morning when I greeted the day facing yet another Twitter vomit storm. And a call to fire me from our First Lady, Melania Trump, saying I should be fired.
All right, so guys, let me know in the chat, okay? Let me know in the chat if you think that Melania Trump is correct in calling for Jimmy Kimmel to be fired. There's a poll right now, and on the main channel, it's 100% yes, ABC should fire Jimmy Kimmel. I'm still waiting on results on the live stream channel. Look, guys, it's relatively easy for people like Jimmy Kimmel to sit in a studio with people who are paid to come in and laugh on cue about a joke that should not be made. If anyone makes a joke at my expense and it is essentially telling my wife that she should be preparing or she looks like an expectant widow, I would be within my rights to be offended. Okay, now to you who's watching, do you think it's just a joke? Let me know in the chat. Let's keep listening because he's doubling down and he's leading up to it. I'm sorry that I couldn't cut to it, but usually these things have a backstory. And you know what? Usually whenever you call them out, they say, well, you took me out of context. So let's listen to this guy talk. And we're also going to listen to Hakeem Jeffries later. Hakeem Jeffries attacks what's her name now? Oh my goodness. Caroline Leavitt, because of the statement she made yesterday calling out Democrats for the violent rhetoric that they've been making for years. And she had the quotes in front of her. She read their quotes verbatim. And you know what he says? Well, we'll get to it. So you're going to see Hakeem Jeffries cope some more. Let's keep listening.
Because of a joke I made, again, 5 nights ago, it was a pretend roast. I said, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at her, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow, which obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every time
Look, it's not obvious when the man has been repeatedly, there's been repeated calls for his assassination by Democrat leadership. A former vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, did that. There have been calls for him to be assassinated on social media. You had James Comey take that photograph of the seashells that had the words 8647, which essentially is code for eliminate the 47th president of the United States. They think we're stupid, guys. They literally think we're stupid and brain dead, like the people who actually believe the lies that they're telling.
Together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. It was not, by any stretch of the definition, a call to assassination, and they know that. I've been very vocal for many years speaking out against gun violence in particular, but I understand that the First Lady had a stressful experience over the weekend, and probably every weekend is pretty stressful in that house. And also, I agree that hateful and violent rhetoric is something we should reject. I do, and I think a great place to start to dial that back would be to have a conversation with your husband about it, because, by the way, I also should point out, Donald Trump is allowed to say whatever he wants to say, as are you, and as am I, as are all of us, because under the First Amendment, we have, as Americans, a right to free speech.
So why is it that everyone else has the right to free speech, and when President Trump uses his right to free speech, all of you lose your minds? You all lose your minds when President Trump exercises his right to free speech. So that was Jimmy Kimmel essentially doubling down. It's 9 minutes of this insanity, and you see people who vote left clapping like seals, celebrating the fact that, Jimmy Kimmel is again doubling down on rhetoric and jokes that if this was done to a Democrat president, that person would lose their show. It happened with Roseanne Barr. She didn't even joke about the Obamas. She joked about someone in Congress who happened to be a person of color. The Obamas didn't like it. They got her fired. So it's the double standards and the hypocrisy that we see repeatedly on display that we're calling out. No one is against you telling jokes. But when the same jokes are told about someone on your side and you guys get a conniption, lose your minds, and call for people to be canceled, then it means that there are double standards. There are clearly double standards to this. So he doubles down and, well, the comment section is full of essentially people who are calling him out. Here he is. Here's a comment here. He promotes violence and ABC and Disney give him the platform to do it. There's this comedian who did a skit and it was covered after Trump's first presidency, or no, during his first presidency. There's this comedian that did a skit with a severed head. Okay, something that looked like President Trump's head, a severed head of President Trump. And everyone said, oh, that is so bold. That's gutsy. Oh, goodness. It's so creative. Okay, so if you did that to Obama, okay, guys in the chat, let me know if a conservative comedian did the same thing with a severed head of Obama, what would they say? I have this guy who I know who said to me during Obama's presidency that Fox News was being so racist against Obama. Well, did anybody hold a severed, bloodied head of Obama as a comedy skit? And Fox News gave them the kudos like TDSBC and CNN did when that skit went live. Did that happen? You and I know it didn't happen. Okay, let's see. This person says this is a leftist. They said, you can tell he's a leftist. Jimmy Kimmel was just allowed to basically, and in a comedian type of way, tell our first lady to go F herself. Please, everyone, take off the BS blinders. Look, so he gets to say it all again without an ounce of regret. He basically is celebrating that he gets attention. He is viral and look, now the poll is running. I have 100% here saying that Jimmy Kimmel should be fired by ABC. But the question is, will he be fired by ABC? The last time that there was a call to fire him, essentially terrorists threatened the network and they gave him back his show. That's what happened. Terrorists terrorized the show and he was given back his show. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't think they're going to take it seriously, but we'll just keep our eyes open. But do you know what? I'm not holding my breath. These people are allowed to say and do whatever they like. And when the exact same thing is done and said to them, they start complaining and whining about the fact that, like the justice system is weaponized against us. Sniff, sniff. No, you guys did worse to President Trump, and now he's going after people who committed actual crimes, and now they're accusing him of weaponizing the justice system. Isn't it crazy that we live in a world that the criminals, the actual criminals, are being protected? That's how I feel. That is how I feel. The actual criminals are being protected by the media and by powerful people in government. Am I wrong, or am I seeing things? Now, Greg Gutfeld, essentially calls out the mechanism that triggers crazy people like the person who attempted to assassinate the president on Saturday. Let's have a listen to this and let me know your thoughts on his take.
You say, well, now we'll never know. What could it possibly be?
Well, they're running away from this story because they know they got their fingerprints all over it. I disagree with Harold. With all due respect, a call for unity is not for us. We don't need it. No, I'm just saying that it's not for me to hear. It's for your side. We don't need it because it's only a one-way thing. You mentioned some examples like the Pelosi thing, which is a mental illness thing. The Wisconsin thing, we still aren't sure what the hell happened there. The Whitmer thing was a plot. Who created the plot?
Yeah.
That would take an entire special to go under. I disagree with Jesse. This guy did hear voices. They were Tim Waltz's, they were Ted Lieu's, they were Brandon Johnson's, they were CNN's, they were The View, they were MS Now. Okay. I think this is...
It's not MS Now, it's TDSBC. It's never going to live down that name that I gave them. It's TDSBC.
It's a helpful assassination attempt because it is the first one to show that you can be radicalized by liberal smugness. If you read his posts and if you read his manifesto, it sounds like every smarmy, sanctimonious, self-satisfied pronouncement from an asshole like Brandon Johnson, like Waltz, like Lieu, the people who think they know better than you.
Yep.
This guy was not a crank. He was not deranged. Don't buy into that narrative because it lets these pompous asses off.
Yep.
He didn't do this because, as Jesse said, he didn't have voices in his head. He was just following orders.
Yep.
He was operating on a filter that said Trump was Hitler, and therefore it would be immoral if you didn't take Hitler out. So his filter is actually making him logical. He's the sanest one in the group because he took them at their word. When MS Now says Trump is Hitler, he's the sensible one. He went out and went after Hitler. Now, if you told him he was wrong, would he listen? No, because you know this guy. You've run into this guy. They think they're right.
I've talked to people like this. No matter how much evidence you give them that they're wrong, they double down. You give them all the evidence in black and white, they double down and keep attacking you and think you're the problem. One of them said to me, "I'm so disappointed in you." I'm like, what do you mean you're disappointed in me? I just gave you all the evidence you didn't have, and I was right. He kept jumping from one topic to the other for 4 hours. It's insane the amount of brainwashing that has happened through left-wing mainstream media.
This is the big point. The biggest problem, and I don't include you in this, Harold, the problem with the left is the lack of humility. This is what has always bothered people on the right. We believe in a higher power. We could be wrong. But for for the left, they can have ideas which turn into belief, which turn into an ideology, and there's no breaks to it, i.e. a higher power that might say, you know what? You could be wrong. This is a guy that when you read his stuff, he is right on everything. When you read his posts, when you read his, and then if something disappoints him, it's everybody's fault.
Yeah.
This is exactly the same kind of person you run into at BLM, at Antifa, at any protest. Your liberal friend who thinks the world is out to get them, and yet they sit at home and they do nothing and they blame Trump. This event exposes that. It also exposes the myopic egoism of the media, who in the run-up to the dinner said, you know what, it's really about a threat against the press. And who brought on the threat? Well, it's this orange demon, Trump. But it turns out the guy who's getting shot at isn't the press.
Yeah.
It's the orange demon that you have turned into a Hitlerian figure.
The guy who's been shot at, the guy who's had his home raided, okay? No other president has had that happen to them. No other former president has had that happen to them. He's a guy that they sued up the wazoo. Anyone remotely connected to him was sued and dragged through the courts. People were essentially terrified into settling. They wanted him to spend the rest of his life in jail because he dared to upset the apple cart in Washington, D.C., and win an election. He dared to be elected by the American people and not selected by the deep state. Isn't it crazy that we're actually having this kind of conversation about the United States? Growing up, if you told me this 20 years ago, I would not have believed it, because I grew up on CNN.
He's the one facing the actual threat. When all he's trying to do is what's best for the country. You may disagree with it, but you were the guys that created the rhetoric. So I think that this was a helpful assassination attempt because, A, nobody got hurt. I'm not going to go with the conventional thing. Thank God, thank God, thank God. You can't write this off as a deranged person, and that is the lesson. You can learn how rhetoric turns into action, how there are security lapses in a hotel. How the hell was he not shot? Did he just trip?
Yeah.
I mean, the Hilton, Paris Hilton is harder to get into than the DC Hilton.
Come on.
and I think the biggest thing here, and it kind of goes back to COVID in a way. It's how scientific minds, this guy was an engineer, can do evil because it's unfettered to a higher power.
Yeah.
He was making the decisions.
Yeah.
He had control, just like Fauci, just like everybody that tells you, you are wrong, I know better. That was the whole point of his screed. When you read it, didn't sound crazy to me. It sounded like a guy saying, dude, I'm smarter than you are. It's a Unabomber.
Yeah, so they, I don't know. I don't want to get into the conversation around, the whole issue of academia, the intelligentsia argument about how they think they know better than the rest of us, and they want us to believe that men can be women, men can give birth. And if you say otherwise, you're a bigot and you're one of the peons who don't understand where the world is going. They say that you're on the wrong side of history. So let's take a look at the comments. Reminder, communists murdered 100 million people in the last 100 years, and they thought they were right. They believed they were right. They were like, look, we know what we're doing, while they were murdering people in China, in the Soviet Union. Okay? They all believe that they're right. The far left is a bigger threat than you realize. We've been screaming this for years. We've been this picture here tells the story. Okay, the media. This is what the media, powered by the Democrat Party, has been doing for years, and we've been calling them out nonstop. Trump is this. DJT is a threat to democracy. DJT is N-word. Now, why is this story still making the rounds? Because the left have refused to leave it alone. Okay, so here is a leftist. Meet Corinne Baum, a teacher at the Children's House in Cincinnati. She posted a video talking about how sad she was that she woke up to the news that Trump wasn't assassinated. This person teaches your kids. Well, there's the phone number to her school. So if you want to give them a call and find out if it is their official policy to hire lunatics to teach kids, that would be a nice thing to do. So there she is. And there's a video, guys. There's a video.
Man, there's been a few creators on here saying that like Friday or yesterday could have been the day. And then I wake up to that news, but not that news. We're gonna have to pay really close attention to what they're trying to actually distract us from.
Yeah, so they've gotten smarter. They've gotten smarter because since Charlie Kirk, they realized that when they try to outrightly say, look, they're not happy that someone who they disagree with wasn't eliminated, they get canceled. People tend to call their place of employment and ask if that is the policy of the place of employment. So they're getting smarter. Okay, this has plausible deniability written all over it. I didn't really say anything, just like Tim Walz, okay, making that joke last year. Oh, I woke up this morning and I looked at my phone hoping to see news and I didn't see that news, and everyone laughs. Everyone knows what they're talking about by now. Violence is now the feature of the Democrat Party. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. Oh, and here's another one. School librarians are dumping on Trump after the third assassination attempt. These are the trusted experts for children. American Library Association keeps putting in the Freedom to Read Act. Okay, like these are people, and here's the post. Okay, look, I don't get it. Okay, good post here by Javier. How many times did Barack Hussein Obama have an assassination attempt? How many times did Joe Biden have an assassination attempt? How many times did Kamala Harris have an assassination attempt? How many times did Hillary Clinton have an assassination attempt? The answer is 0. The Democrats are the party of violence in America. They burnt down your house, then they accused you of burning down the house. They've called every leader in the conservative side all sorts of names so that it gives their side the permission structure to do the things that they've been doing. Doxing people, attacking them, blocking roads, and finally, an assassination attempt on Trump. Someone says that the assassination attempt was staged. Okay, so it was staged and a father got killed by one of those bullets, was killed by one of the staged bullets. These people are evil. They are like, if you can literally look at that situation in Butler, Pennsylvania, and open your mouth to say that looked staged. What you are saying is that that the person who was killed by the stray bullet was essentially part of the op. Now, I read the Bible, and in the Bible, there's some freaky-ish in the Bible. There's some freaky stuff in the Bible. People do evil things, really evil things. Evil things that if I like, there's a scene in the Bible that if I read it, the video could get taken down by YouTube. It is that horrible. And I know that people can do evil things. But the problem with what the Democrats do is that they're willing to lie and smear someone who hasn't done any of the things that they accuse him of doing. For example, one of the things that I do routinely is I listen to Trump's speeches, the entire thing. And it's amazing when you cross over to mainstream media and listen to MS Now or CNN recount the same speech you just heard, and you think that they're talking about a completely different person. It's crazy, guys. Okay, it is crazy. Oh, there are more of them. Okay, look, there is a problem with the educational system. The educational system is infested with these people. The educational system is infested with these people. So let's keep going. All right, let's keep going. Now, why are we still on this matter? Okay, and I feel like that's a question that a lot of people are asking. Why are we still talking about this assassination attempt? There is Iran. There's a ceasefire going on. There's the blockade. So far, the assassination attempt has taken over the news cycle, and the insanity of the Democrats and leftists has essentially kept the conversation going, because here, Caroline Leavitt, okay, is smoking Jimmy Kimmel from the White House after he called Melania Trump an expectant widow. ABC has to put an end to this BS, okay? Now, let's listen to Caroline Levitt talk about this. And then we're going to listen to Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries responded to what she said yesterday, reading out the exact words of Democrats accusing Trump of being a Nazi, a danger to democracy, calling on their voter base to get in their faces. When they go high, we go low and drag them into the mud and choke them out. Like, she read all of that, and Hakeem Jeffries, his response is coming up next. So let's hear what she says here.
So many. For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out, much of the manifesto of the would-be assassin is indistinguishable from the words that we hear daily from so many.
Yep.
For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night. As President Trump said on Saturday night at this podium, we as Americans must recommit ourselves to resolving our differences peacefully and uniting around the shared values that make our country great. The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things, and they are inspired to commit violence because of those words. It has to stop.
Yeah, so she says this, calling them out, and here's Hakeem Jeffries doing what he does best. Okay, Hakeem Timu Obama Jeffries essentially blew up on Caroline Levitt, pushing for civility after the left tried killing Trump again. How many assassination attempts did Obama have? How many did Bill Clinton have? How many did Kamala Harris have? Hillary Clinton? Look, they can astroturf all of the staged violent, so-called violent attacks that they want to astroturf. January 6th was clearly astroturfed. Okay? January 6th has been astroturfed for, we all know that was astroturfed. CMP says Carson has been off the air for 30 years. Carson. Okay. I'm trying to connect I'm trying to make the connection, but I can't make the connection. Okay. So here is Hakeem Jeffries. Okay. He's reacting to the comment.
I know you said you stand by your comments. At the same time, you have been the subject of threats as well. So with respect to this comment about maximum warfare, even if it's about redistricting, why not tone down the language here in this moment?
I think that what's interesting to me, as you pointed out, is that the so-called White House press secretary, who's a disgrace, she's a stone-cold liar.
So I need you guys to remind me, okay, while Karine Jean-Pierre was doing her thing, lying on the podium for Joe Biden, which Republican House or Senate leader talked about her the way Hakeem Jeffries routinely talks about Caroline Levitt? Let me know in the chat if it's just me. Okay, they want to assume this posture of moral superiority while acting like riffraff. Okay, Hakeem Jeffries talks like a riffraff. He's not even addressing the conversation. He's attacking her personality. She brought evidence of what you guys said, And instead of him to respond to the evidence, he's attacking her personally. Classic Democrat.
Had the nerve to stand up there and read talking points being critical of statements all taken out of context that Democrats have made, and didn't have a word to say about anything that MAGA extremists have said or done, including providing aid and comfort to violent insurrectionists here at this Capitol.
Okay, so look, they can't help themselves. January 6th is always the go-to. They don't have anything else. The Summer of Love, they were burning down cities for an entire summer. The Democrat Party was providing cover for the violent rioters. Kamala Harris was offering to raise money for their bail. They were pushing and pulling for them to keep doing what they were doing. These guys are insane, okay? They're either insane or downright evil. They support violence regularly, and then when they're called out, they want to claim that an astroturfed event in January 6th was actually legitimate. Okay? So, and then he's acting outraged.
On January 6th, who brutally beat police officers. The president then pardoned those violent rioters, many of whom have gone back into communities across the country to reoffend.
Okay, so whenever he makes statements like this, he continues to go back to this statement. My challenge to the press questioning him is, can you give us the names of these people who you keep saying have gone back into the societies to reoffend? The only thing that I see on the internet is people who have been pardoned going on podcasts and doing interviews. I know that there are several people who were released and they were essentially arrested for other things. Okay, that happened. People, do stupid stuff, but they do not represent the MAGA movement in any way. They don't. And many times I've said it, that many of them who were in the crowd inciting violence were actually Antifa. Yeah.
And as you pointed out, one of whom threatened to kill me. He said, kill the terrorist. Where did that language come from?
Who said so? I like evidence, okay, guys? Carolyn Levitt named names. Okay, so look at this, all right? Guys, look at what I just showed you. Look at what I just showed you, okay? We always come with the evidence. We always come with receipts, okay? We always come with receipts. We always do, okay? She got big anger issues. She says to herself she shouldn't be any... Look, we always come with receipts. Look at this woman, okay? Look at this woman. We always come with receipts. When we talk about people who shouldn't be teaching children, we come with receipts.
I do not know what to do with all of the rage that I have in my body right now. I'm gonna do two parts. This first part is in my own city. Thursday, April 16th, and yesterday, this fucking puppet, see you next fucking Tuesday, attempted to enter multiple Cincinnati public schools to do wellness checks on behalf of ICE. This is Gratis Police Chief Tonina Lamana, and Superintendent Shauna Murphy said she and another individual visited Western Hills University High School, Reese E. Price Academy, and Roberts Academy. While Murphy said that the two puppets didn't interact with any of the students, Cincinnati Mayor Aftab Prevel, a CPS parent, called the whole incident ridiculous and...
So I don't want to keep going, but essentially you get the idea, okay? These people have zero respect for law and order, zero respect for law enforcement, zero respect for federal law, and she's calling a law enforcement officer a puppet. Okay, guys, that is Marxist terminology. They break down law and order so that chaos can ensue, and then they show up in their red capes with a hammer and sickle insignia on the back to say, hey, we're here to save you. That's what the communists did in the Soviet Union. So let's keep listening to Timu Obama.
What Republicans use that language?
Show us the evidence. Look, guys, show us the evidence. Look, I'm tired of these people just claiming that that's people threatening their lives. Where is the evidence? This morning, I watched Nick Shirley do a video, and he shows posts of people threatening his life. People threatening his life. There was a photo of basically a graphic of him dead in a ditch. And he provided the evidence. He's not doing what these jokers do. Hakeem Jeffries keeps saying that people threaten his life. We don't have any evidence of that. Democrats say MAGA extremists are threatening their lives. Where is the evidence? We don't have the evidence. It's only trust me, bro. That's all they've got.
How did that pardon MAGA extremists, violent insurrectionists, choose to use the language of terrorism directed at me when he threatened to kill me at an event?
Where is the evidence?
Take them seriously when they raise these partisan attacks?
We have hundreds, Hakeem Jeffries. We have hundreds of people who vote for your party threatening President Trump, his cabinet, conservative voices, all the time. It's everywhere on the internet. You guys can't escape this. But you know what? The sad thing is that there are people who get swayed by this act. All right, they get swayed by this act. He's in a suit. He's got a nice clean haircut. He's in Congress. Therefore, he must know something that we don't. And he gets to lie to us with impunity, and no one calls him out. The press corps who interviewed these guys are a disgrace. None of them tend to push back the way they should, because they should simply ask for the evidence.
And completely ignore the fact that a lot of folks, including Governor Shapiro, his home was attacked by an arsonist when he and his kids and wife were there.
And the arsonist was essentially a leftist. They attribute these attacks to MAGA when essentially it's people on their side who believe that they aren't going far enough. That's what happens. They believe that these Democrats aren't going far enough, that they are too centrist they're too centrist for their liking. And so they terrify them into allowing some of the most outlandish, demonic policies out there.
And this so-called White House press secretary wants to lecture America and lecture us about civility. Get lost, clean up your own house before you have anything to say to us about the language that we use.
Okay, so you guys have been using dangerous rhetoric routinely. This is the strategy of the Democrat Party. Political violence for the Democrat Party now is a feature, not a bug. It's a feature, not a bug. Okay? Let's see. Between this crazy rant and Obama yesterday, not knowing the motive of the shooter, I'm assuming Dems have some serious problems come election time. Look, I'm not holding my breath. I've been saying this for over a week now, and here's what I think. Republicans have to get their act together. They need to rally for the midterms. Okay, get your act together. All the former conservative voices, the Alex Joneses and Tucker Carlsons of this world, okay, stop listening to them. Nick Fuentes essentially called for everyone to vote Democrat during the midterms. Look, I'm not an influencer. I'm just a guy who sees what's going on, and I'm very concerned about the future of the world. And I'm saying, look, I've seen what the left has to offer, I don't think it would be smart to let them even go anywhere near having a majority of the House and Senate. Look at what they've done with a minority to the Trump administration's goals. In 2 years, they have essentially locked down the government twice. And now there's a running government shutdown because they claim that they want to defund ICE. Meanwhile, ICE has been funded for the next 3 years. They claim that the shutdown is because of ICE. ICE has the money that they need to function, so they are lying. So it's dangerous for any of that to happen, guys. All right, so let's see. So Rapid Response essentially replied Timu Obama and said, none of the examples the press secretary cited were taken out of context. Hakeem Jeffries, you guys are just that unhinged and radical. For example, here's you calling people to fight the Trump agenda in the streets. Okay, so he claims that this was taken out of context. Carolyn Levitt read this verbatim. So here he is. So tell me if this is out of context.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. We're going to fight it in the streets.
Okay, so he was very definitive. He said the 3 places they're going to fight it: the courts, legislatively, and in the streets. Okay, with all the rioting that they've been doing. We watched for a year Democrats attack ICE agents relentlessly in the courts, legislatively, and then we watched as they did it viciously on the streets in California with them throwing concrete blocks at ICE agents. We saw it in Minnesota. We've seen it all over. We saw it in Portland. So they don't get to turn around and say, no, you took this out of context. Hakeem Jeffries was being very clear about what he meant in this press conference. All right. Okay, so as a palate cleanser, it's been months since I talked about Ilhan Omar. All right. So in the spirit of understanding, okay, here's Ilhan Omar calling anyone who voted for President Trump dumb. Has any Republican out there, I may not know it, maybe I'm in a bubble, okay, if you're watching, let me know. Has any Republican out there ever called Democrats who voted for Biden or Democrats who voted for Obama dumb? Let me know in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching afterwards. Let me know, because this is how the Democrats talk routinely.
These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people. The dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
So this is coming from the woman who says that the reason why that the financial report that essentially that shows that she got richer by over $20 million since she joined Congress was an accounting error. This is she. Oh, and meanwhile, here she is talking about World War II.
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
Look, she called you dumb. She called you dumb. But she just said that we've had 11 world wars. I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm living in clown world. These are the people who run the world. people who don't even know how many world wars we've had. Anyone with an iota of an education knows that when you see that on paper, World War with 2 I's, it is World War II. Even if it was mistyped, it is World War II every single time. There hasn't been a third World War, even though Alex Jones has been prophesying it for weeks now. There hasn't been a third World War, even though Tucker Carlson wishes that what's going on with Iran turns into a third World War. Iran is unable to wage that scale of a war. No one is coming to their aid. No, but she thinks that there's been 11 world wars, okay? This is the person who thinks that you're dumb. That's the quality of the Democrat Party, guys. This is the future of the Democrat Party. That is to say, if she's not either voted out or deported from the country because of the corruption in her immigration process and all that's been talked about. I don't know what's going to happen, and you know what? I'm not holding my breath. The only thing I'm concerned about is the fact that we need more Republicans out there voting. Guys, let me know what you think in the chat. Let's have a conversation in the chat real quick before we're done tonight. CCMP 53154 is talking about Carson, and I think he's talking about Jimmy Carson, and I'm like, Jimmy Carson? What does Jimmy Carson have to do with this? Unless he's watching multiple live streams and he accidentally typed this in. So Ilhan Omar essentially has created a meme for herself. Okay, in the reality she comes from, there have been 11 world wars. Okay, and then we have this absolute gem from Chris Cuomo's show. Okay, Sean Spicer fires back when Chris Cuomo draws equivalency between Democrats inciting rhetoric and Trump's. Let's have a listen.
I think that calling somebody a jerk or disgusting or whatever, okay, yes, I don't generally speak like that, but that's a very different thing than saying someone is a threat to the country and a threat to democracy.
He calls
I want
people
to get rid of
a threat to the country and democracy all the time. Sean, I don't have enough time to list it.
So is it the same? So if Trump calls, okay, hey, these people who essentially want the borders to be wide open and to have unvetted, undocumented illegal aliens flooding the country who have sexually assaulted American girls, who have committed acts of violence across the country, who took over apartment buildings, who are terrorizing minority communities all over the place, and not to talk about the atrocities that they committed all the way leading up to the crossing of the border. And the Democrats are supporting that. Trump is making a statement based on evidence. They are making a statement based on the fact that they need to smear him, smear MAGA, and make sure that the insane people that vote for them, okay, and I'm not doing that based on what Ilhan Omar is doing. We're literally dealing with insane people. Okay, look at what's, okay, we're going to take a look, by the time we're done with this, at the voters of the Democrat Party. Okay, we're going to take a look at a few of them from Portland, and you tell me if these people are mentally sound. But let's keep listening.
And you know this, and you're right. People
Okay, well,
speak
you know
about
what?
him in a
It's
way
funny, Chris, because
that it would be nice
all
if
the
they
assassination attempts seem to go in one direction.
He's in
Right?
power.
It's Charlie Kirk, it's Donald Trump 3 times, it's Steve Scalise.
He's
I'm
in
just
power.
saying.
So it doesn't matter that Chris Cuomo is getting all this evidence. It doesn't matter to leftists that you're giving them the evidence. There is factual data that states that the violence against high-profile, prominent members of MAGA or of the conservative movement in America are being physically threatened. Trump, 3 assassination attempts. His cabinet routinely threatened. You have ICE agents routinely threatened, with Democrats giving the insane people who are doing this cover. by saying that, oh no, they are just exercising their civic duty. I don't know about you guys, but man, it's exhausting having to have these conversations with people who don't want to address the truth. Okay, guys, if you're watching for the first time and you like what you've seen so far, let me know in the chat. But you know what? Also, let me know by subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. Consider supporting the channel with a super chat, please. It helps us keep the lights on. But I really do want to have a conversation with you guys. Okay, I want you guys to let me know what you think of the videos we've covered so far, your thoughts. Let me know if there's anything that I missed. All right, and I'm looking at the poll. Okay, I'm looking at the poll, and we have on the main channel 67% say yes, ABC should fire Jimmy Kimmel, and then on the live stream channel we have only one person who voted, and they said no, ABC shouldn't fire Jimmy Kimmel. Now I know that there are more people watching on both sides. Okay, so let your voice be heard. This is why we're talking about people getting involved in voting during the midterms, because you know what, when you look at results like this, it looks like, okay, the people who essentially want open borders, who want boys in girls' bathrooms, who want abortion up to 9 months, okay, it looks like the people who want all those things, who want no voter ID, are the majority, are like 99% of the country. Why? Because the actual group who believe in common sense and civilization decide that they don't feel like voting. They're too tired. They're like relaxing. They don't want to move their thumb to just tap that poll to say what they think. And that's what the politicians go off of. The loudest voices in the room move the politicians. And you guys just need to learn how to raise your voices, make your voices heard by voting and by dropping a comment about your thoughts. So let's keep going.
Notice that every one of these people in the Trump administration needs a security detail. Staff. No other press secretary in history, except for those who served Donald Trump, needed a Secret Service detail. And
Chris Cuomo essentially did not respond to these statements. The violence is going one way, yet it is the fault of the people who are being attacked. Can anyone make that make sense? Can anyone make that make sense? It is Trump's fault. It is Trump's fault that there have been more assassination attempts against him than any other sitting president. Okay, so can anyone make this make sense? Right, so I did promise that we were going to take a look at what passes for the Democrat voter. All right, I hope I can find it real quick. All right, so President Trump. Now, let's just let's see, Portland ICE protest. Okay, so when you look at scenes like this, when you look at scenes like this, okay, all right, this is a guy wearing a dress. This is a guy wearing a dress. Okay, this is the voting population. This is the voting population of the Democrat Party.
What are you gonna do?
All right, you have guys in dresses. You have people who can't engage in civil conversations. So there was an election. A president was elected, and instead of agreeing with the results of the election, they all decided that they were going to go on a 4-year tantrum and protest for the entirety of Trump's second term. And there are people who have deep enough pockets to fund these protests for the next 4 years. Of course, USAID was taken away from them. And now we have the Southern Poverty Law Center that was exposed. And I think there'll be more expositions in the months to come of groups that have been weaponized with cash to fund these anti-democratic protests, because if you're protesting a duly elected president, if you're protesting the enforcement of federal law, then it's anti-democratic. I'm still waiting for the DOJ to investigate this thoroughly and unearth some of the insanity that most of us know exists. All right, guys, this has been a quiet night on the live chat front. I wish we could have had more comments coming from the live chat, and I don't want to read comments from old live streams because I think we should keep this nice and nifty. Okay, I want to say thank you to everyone who essentially dropped a chat. Okay, well, only one person right now that I can see dropped a chat. Something weird is happening on the main channel. I tried to gift memberships on the main channel last night, but it just wasn't possible. Is Gardner LS? Sorry, I'm messing up your handle. Is Gardner on? Okay. You watched yesterday and you said your back was hurting. All right. I'm praying for you, and I hope your back heals up. So we like to engage in the chat. We like to talk and meet with you. You are part of the community. We care about you. We want to know what's going on in your life. If there's something going on that and you need us to support you, you know, we're here for you. All right, we are here for you. Okay, guys, we're gonna call it a night. We don't have as many stories to play. We don't have as many stories to play tonight because essentially the story has slightly pivoted to King Charles's visit, but there's still conversations around the attempted assassination. You know, the news cycle moves by very quickly. Oh yeah, here's another one of those weirdos. All right, so there's a guy in a frog costume. Okay. Like these are the these are the voters. All right, these are the voters of the Democrat Party. So when gardening LSB, you're here. I'm praying for you. Okay, guy, I'm praying for you, and you look. I like to pray for my audience, okay? And when I heard about your situation last night, when you posted that, you know, I prayed for you this morning, or sorry, it's yesterday now, and I'm going to keep praying for you. And look, let me know how you're doing. I gave you my email address in case you missed it. Okay, I'm going to type. Oops, what did I do? I apologize. I thought I was typing in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to type my email address again. Okay, you don't have to post, hey, this is going on a public forum. You can just send me an update on to my inbox. Okay, that's my email address. Just let me know how you're doing. All right, I really do want to know how you're doing. Back issues can be horrible. My wife had a serious back issue after she gave birth to our daughter back in 2016, and for 2 years she was struggling. And we literally had to fly her. At the time, we were still living in Africa. We had to fly to Dubai because all of the doctors in Africa essentially wanted to cut open her spine in order to look and see what's going on in there. And I said, no, nobody is touching my wife's back because that's a one-way ticket to paralysis. I said, we're going to take a second opinion, and we flew to Dubai. And in Dubai, essentially, the specialist there, great guy, put her in an MRI and did a scan and said, look, your back is perfect. But she had to do some exercise and her back had to heal up. It was a journey, and I know that feeling. So when you mentioned back, I was like, here we go. Okay, Gardening LSB says, thank you. And yes, I will try to message tomorrow. Yeah, just rest up, and I'm going to keep praying for you. If there's some more detail to the situation that you want to send, I want to pray for you. Okay, and if there's anyone else who's listening and you're like, oh, this dude prays for his audience, I do. If you have any situation that you're going through, it doesn't matter. Look, I'm not saying that it is because I prayed for you that something's going to happen. It is the fact that I believe that there is a God who hears prayer. And I believe that when we ask him for things in his grace and in his mercy, he gives this to us. And I have been a beneficiary of actually healing. It sounds kooky, okay, but it's true. A lot of people don't think twice about flying to India to visit a guru and spend weeks in the dirt. They don't. Okay, so I think it's okay for me to talk about something that most of us know is true, but we've never really experienced. Okay, and that's the power of prayer. So Gardening LSB, thank you for joining us for a second night in a row. I think you told me that last night was the first night you joined, and I'm very grateful. I want to say thank you to, yeah, absolutely. Amen. Amen, brother. Amen. All right. So I'm going to be signing off for tonight. CMP 53154. I want to give you a shout out again, even though the chat you left wasn't exactly clear, but thank you for chatting. Gardening LSB, great to see you in the chat, and everyone else who's a repeat viewer who just hangs in there with me from start to finish. I thank you so much. I'm going to be back again tomorrow night. We're going to see what else is going on. And look, guys, if there's a story you think we should cover for the next live stream, feel free to send it to my inbox. My email address is right there in the chat. Go ahead and send me a story you think we should cover tomorrow. All right. Now, so thank you so much for being here. Gardening LSB, CMP. I just want to say hi. Those of you who want me to kind of recognize you, you need to be in the chat. You need to be in the chat. All right. So thank you so much for being here once again. I love you guys, honestly, from my heart. If you're watching for the first time and you're like, hey, I like this guy, you can support us by giving us a donation, by super chatting, or by becoming a member. Okay, yesterday we did some gifted memberships courtesy of Gardening LSB. And do you know what? I'm still yet to figure out what's wrong with the main channel. The main channel has 12,000 subscribers, should have memberships, gifted memberships active. I don't know what's going on, but somehow we're going to figure it out. We will figure it out. So thank you guys. I'm talking because I love hanging out here, but it's time to call it a night. I have some work to do, and I'll catch you on the next one. God bless you and goodbye.